Oh, we're live. Hello, everyone. I'm Krasi Atasio Zori Dimitrova from Heal and Learn is with me today, and we will talk about famous prophecies. I believe most of them you haven't heard of because they come from our culture. They are really amazing, and of course we will make the link between the ancient prophecies, not very ancient, but old prophecies, with the ancient astrology. And of course after that we will refer to the advices and of Zori Dimitrova on how to make use of all that is happening around us. And we will also, you will be very welcome to ask your questions. We want to make this really interactive, to make it like a free, very nice conversation. Hello, Zori.
Hi, Krasi. Thanks for having me again. Happy to be here with all of you.
Yes. We announced this for 10, actually in 2 minutes, but it's okay. So I will start with very brief astrological bit technical information, which is useful. You will see why it makes sense. I will explain you briefly why about the era that we live in, about the sub-era that we live in, so that you know why the events which are taking place around us make sense. You will see their astrological significance, their astrological link. And then also when we mention these amazing, really very interesting prophecies, you will see why these prophecies also make sense. So I will start with the very, very ancient, maybe before the world existed, so to say, notion of the so-called Dodecatemoria. This is really very ancient. It was known by the Sumerians. It was introduced by them. It's hermetic. The principle of Dodecatemorias is, I will show you what it is in a second, and you will see how important it is and why our current era is such as it is. Now, the Dodecatemorias is following the principle of the cycles, of the divisions. It is like when you take one zodiac, which has 12 EQ, according to the ancients, zodiacal signs, there are 12, then you can divide them one more time by 12, then you can divide endlessly everything by 12 in astrology, because one of the principles of Hermes is that the universe is cyclic. Let me illustrate in a second. And why it is so significant? Because of the era that we live in now. I'm sharing my screen with you. So we live in times ruled by Mars. And now I'm going to illustrate why. Now, sidereally, astronomically, due to the precession of the equinoxes, I will not explain now what is the precession of the equinoxes. Such information you can find on the internet. Also, I have such lecture on my channel, on my website. Due to the precession, astronomical precession of the equinoxes, because of the rotation of the Earth around her own axis, we are having the notion of the equinoxes and the solstices, which are forming a cross. And we know that astronomically, which is not season-based like the tropical modern astrology is, and the tropical modern astrology is saying that the zodiac is starting from 0 degrees Aries. This is not true, because this is a notion which existed 2000 years ago. So due to the precession of the equinoxes, we're having the 4 so-called tropical points, which are the solstices and the equinoxes, and they form a cross. And we know that the vernal, the spring equinox for the northern hemisphere, or the autumn equinox for the southern hemisphere, is in the 5th degrees of Pisces for our era. And then, of course, just against it is the point of the autumn equinox for the northern hemisphere, which is in the 5th degrees of Virgo. And then, of course, we're having the summer solstice, which is in the 5th degrees of Gemini. And we're having the winter solstice, which is in the 5 degrees of Sagittarius. And as you can imagine, they are forming a cross. This is technical information which will take 5 minutes of your time before we go into the prophecies, but it's important that you understand it. So we are having the 5th degrees Pisces, where we're having the point of the vernal equinox. Nothing more important than the sign of Pisces for our era. And here I will emphasize on the fact that we are not yet in the era of the Aquarius, but we are about to enter the era of Aquarius. What is happening here? The rotation of the precession of the equinoxes is not following the normal path of the zodiac, but it is turning against it. So we are counting 30, 29, 27, 26 degrees and not 1, 2, 3. So it's just against the path of the zodiac. Therefore, now in the year 2016, probably we entered the 4.59 minutes of degrees of the point of the vernal equinox. And with this, we entered a specific section of the sign of Pisces. How these sections look like and what is their significance, very briefly I will explain you. As we said, the zodiac has 12 signs. These 12 signs we can divide into another 12 and 12 forever, because we are following the cyclic idea of the universe. So take the sign of Pisces, because it's the first sign of the zodiac, because everything starts from Pisces, because this is the sign where we're having the spring equinox, the beginning of life, symbolically. So we are dividing the sign of Pisces into 12 equal parts. 12 equal parts like the 12 zodiacal signs. And we are starting here, we're starting the first two, each one has 2.5 degrees. So we are starting with Pisces, the next one is Aries, then we have Taurus. So we're following the path of the zodiac the way you know it. So we divide every sign by 12, and every sign starts with his own sign. Like Pisces starts with Pisces, Aries will start with Aries, and the next will be Taurus, and so on forever. And each of these small sections has 2.5 degrees. And each of these sections, each is called dodecatemoria, the most ancient of the divisions of the zodiac. And each of these 2.5 degrees is, each degree equals 72 years of our human development. 72 years. What happened? In the year 2016, the point of the equinox entered new dodecatemoria, finished the dodecatemoria of Taurus, and in 2016, it entered the dodecatemoria of Aries, of Mars. Mars, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Mars here. And you know what Mars is ruling? The devastating events in the world which are taking place now, which are always taking place, those events which usually are unpredictable. They can burst just like that. They are always ruled by Mars. Who is Mars? Nergal. Nergal in Babylon was called the unpredictable, and Nergal is ruling the netherworld. And he wants what? Death, because he's ruling the netherworld, the underworld. That's what he's ruling, and this is Nergal. So we are having the huge era that we live in of Pisces, which was introduced to us by Jesus, and then we are still in this era. But in 2016, approximately, we say approximately because imagine that until the equinoxes pass all these zodiacal signs, we need to count approximately 25,000 years, which is called the Great Era. When we divide these 25,000 years into the 12 zodiacal signs, count 2,000 something years, we stay in one zodiacal sign. So guess what? Jesus introduced the era of Pisces, and many hundreds years before we entered the year of Pisces, and we believe, and it is believed that the master being Sadunu introduced the era of Aquarius before we entered the era. He came to give us the formulas, to give us the keys, to give us the instructions on the era of Aquarius, which we didn't enter. So guess what we have in here? End of times, end of completing one significant astrological era. Significant because we have in the last almost 5 degrees, each degree is equal 72 years. So how many is this? We're having 2 more dodecatemorias to pass because we're having Aries, 2.5 degrees, 180 years we're going to stay in the dodecatemoria of Aries, and only 4 years passed. And then we will be having another 2.5 years when we will have much peaceful times, when we'll be entering the dodecatemoria of Pisces, another 180 years. So approximately after 360 years, we're entering the era of Aquarius, for which the master being Sadunu, and we'll be talking about him in a moment, warned us, gave us the formulas, gave us the keys, gave us the prayers, and he's becoming more and more and more known and amazing to the world. So this was my small, a bit technical introduction, but you will see it makes sense. To summarize my introduction, and then Zori will speak about prophecies, and we'll see if people, how many people watch us and if they have something to say. And why is this significant? Because Mars is who is ruling our lives now. And by the way, every change of dodecatemoria is coming with significant world event. And I don't want to get into details, but the world event in 2015-16, which announced, like made present the entrance of the dodecatemoria of Mars, was this black ritual which the Islamic State made in the city of Mosul in Iraq. So it was a devastating theater with many people who died in a devastating way. And this is how Mars said, I am entering the era. And this era is going to continue for 180 years. Of course, not every single event will be having the taste of the unpredictable Mars, but keep in mind, Mars is ruling us. So whatever is happening with Mars now, he is the boss of the era, so we feel it. Yes. For another 180 years before we enter the dodecatemoria of Pisces, which is going to rule us for another 180 years. Why am I saying this? Because before we start talking about these very interesting prophecies, you will see that astrologically, what above, so below, and no mistake in that. No mistake in that. This is the one of the principles of Hermes as well. Like the cyclic universe, which is seen into the dodecatemoria divisions, and then of course, what above, so below. Yes.
You're preparing us for heavy messages, Karasi.
Well, heavy, you see, I believe heavy, maybe yes, maybe they're heavy, but we chose to live in these interesting times. What above, so below, it would say that God prepared this for us. And I keep reminding myself that not that events which are difficult for the body are good for the soul, you see. So yes.
This is also one of the messages that I came prepared with today. It was actually that we are body and spirit, and mostly spirit, and so nobody can take this away from us. And as you say, we have chosen to come here and to go through this and this difficulty, because that's the only way for our soul to grow, to develop. And this is why everybody's been fighting to come on Earth exactly at this time, because it's expecting to be so tough, and it's a huge growth. And that's the only way, also Master Bain Suduno says, that's the only way through suffering, not the only way, but one of the ways through suffering to turn to your connection to God again. And as we discussed with you a few days ago, evil is a part of God as well. So we can even say Satan is a part of God. He allowed him to be there. And there's this greater evil that Master Bain Suduno talks about that we're not going to talk about right now because we also don't know much about it. But the Satan, as described in the Bible and in the bad in other religions, is allowed by God. It is for our development.
Yes, yes. The Master Bain Suduno, let me show you who the Master Bain Suduno is. And there is a website in English. I can tell you, you can find really peace for your souls with the teachings of Master Bain Suduno. This is what keeps me alive right now. This is the Master Bain Suduno, who came to introduce bainsuduno.org. Their websites more, I think his Paneurythmia, which is the astrological dance of 12 people, the 12 zodiacal signs, which starts always with when we are starting with the vernal equinox. His dance of Paneurythmia, which is supposed to ease up our karma, is being danced in Africa, in Japan, in all over the world. So he's really known. So this is the Master Bain Suduno, for those of you who want to know.
Yeah, maybe to tell a bit. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Say it, Zori, because today you read exactly, you have your new books, and they're not new because the Master Bain Suduno decided to leave us in 1944. Say about it. You can please.
No, I just wanted to say something that's not from the books, but that I've known for a long time, is that the Paneurythmia, the dance, actually the rhythm, the steps represent the frequencies of the planets somehow. So if you have 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and lifting up your arms, the coordination of your body is aligned to the spheres, to the celestial spheres. It's a very interesting dance, and one learns it for a long time, but a part of it, I know, is implemented in the Rudolf Steiner educational system. So what the kids do in the Waldorf schools, whichever one of you has kids in the Waldorf school, you would know that, especially in the kindergartens, when they have morning circles, they have a dance that actually represents, it has parts of Paneurythmia, not entirely, but it takes one cycle. It takes a year of what is done throughout the year.
Yes, yes. And just to say
in
something,
nature, what is done in nature. So how you sow, how you pick up the crops and so on.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Rudolf Steiner was one of his followers, indeed. What resume share? What I also want to tell you, which very much resembles Jesus and the way another era was introduced, is that, like the body of Jesus, of course, was not found after his death. The same happened with the Master Bain Suduno, and his grave is in Sofia, near the place where I used to live. And after he said, I am leaving this world, the body was also not found. So this is another story. We will talk about him a bit later, but and his very interesting short prophecies about the current time. But I want to tell you about another prophet, and her prophecies are very specific. She's also Bulgarian. She's called Slava Sivrukova. For those of you who are interested, I will put the name under Slava Sivrukova. This is Slava Sivrukova. She was born in 1902, and she died when she was 92, I think. She was working for the Bulgarian Secret Services, and she was doing an amazing job for them. And later, also, when she was in her 70s, she was working with scientists, with engineers, and then she was really receiving spiritual information and was supporting the science at that time. And she the Baba Vanga, who everyone speaks about now, with Baba Vanga, the Bulgarian, was quoted to say things about the current situation which totally make no sense, because I remember Baba Vanga, my parents went to her, she said nothing of the things that are being quoted now all over internet. So Baba Vanga would say really about Slava Sivryukova that whatever this woman said is just true. So this is Slava Sivryukova, and I will tell you about her prophecies in a second, but let me open my English translation before that. Zori, you do have something about her that did you find also interesting?
Yeah, well, what I know about her is that is the only prophecy really that I know of her, apart from the ones that I read today that you're going to share, is that she said that all Bulgarians should come back to Bulgaria from wherever they are abroad until the year 2023, because huge cataclysms are expected and floods, and so people should go back home where they're safe. This is what I know.
Absolutely.
That she said.
Yes, unfortunately she said that. Well, let me read for you translation of the words of Slava Sivryukova. Now, she was saying, the boundaries of the globe will not remain the same. The crust that forms the shape of the continents will change its appearance. The consequences, climatic surprises, supreme trials are ahead. There are devastating cataclysms. The harmony between the visible and the invisible worlds is broken. Millions and billions of people are about to sail into the beyond. Life on Earth is governed by strict cosmic laws, but the equilibrium between our world and the world beyond has long been broken. With millions and billions of people, we are overcrowded. In order to restore balance, millions and billions must go to the beyond, quickly and together. The human race is not alone in these difficult trials. The human race is supported by lofty spiritual beings. Difficulties are more necessary than anything else in the world because the souls of the earth are rising. They're rising also in space. These are the end of times. Remember what I told you, end of times, because we're leaving the era. So that's why it's the end of times. And actually, if you look back in Babylon, end of Babylon, end of times, similar stuff, similar events took place like now, end of times. And you had also the same people coming from different continents. Babylon became like center of the world, like now maybe what you have New York, something like that. And then she's saying, this is end of times, last, because too many people inhabit this earth. There are almost no souls beyond. They are becoming more they're coming in bigger, they came in bigger and bigger groups to incarnate in order to clean the weeds, she's saying, in them. Do you understand, she's saying? But that's the end of it. That's why these times are called last, end of times.
May I just interrupt very quickly here?
Yes.
Just to make sure that we don't scare people too much. Baba Vanga, who, by the way, was very famous in Russia, and maybe a lot of people don't know about her. And, you know, you say the famous Baba Vanga, but she's mostly famous in Russia and in Eastern Europe, but the rest of the world has never heard about her. But she said that the end of times, the end of the existence of the planet will happen sometime around 5032 or something like that. So there's still quite a few years to go. So don't worry, the humanity will survive.
No, yeah, true. Yeah. I sounded, end of times is the end of the era. Mm-hmm. It's everything you have end of times. It's like starting from scratch again, something like that. But
restart.
The humanity is, restart. But the humanity is not dying out. No.
Yeah, it's a transition to what also, but maybe you continue and then I'll add more about what I have to say about the transition to spirituality.
Yeah, it's not so long. She's also saying in the end that this is not the end of the human race, but many people need to go, because as you can see, there is no balance anymore between there must be, apparently, must be balance between the souls which live beyond, like she's saying, and the souls which inhabit Earth. So since we're more here than up there, the balance is being broken. This is how I understand it. And that's why she's saying that this is the divine plan is that the souls here live in groups. That's what she's saying, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is subject to interpretation. I mean, I can also interpret it, but in a different way. For me, it means like people need to grow spiritually, because this is also one of her messages that I read in the link that you sent me. She said, people will learn that the values that they currently have are not important. People will learn spirituality. The more they lose, the more loss there is of the things they cherished, the more they're going to hang on to God and to spirituality. And then they're going to realize. So only through suffering.
Only, and then she's giving the remedy, because she's saying, pray, because, but before that she's saying, what the times that are coming, and she's describing some difficult times I don't want to mention. Then what is not destroyed by nature, well, so then she's saying that there will be in the end, she's saying that darkness will never spread, has never been known to such extremes on Earth, but after that there will be indeed rebirth, so to say.
You know what Joe says, Joe Fox Dreamer, the shaman? He says, whenever there is evil coming on Earth, be sure that the good will come with equal or bigger force, always. So for sure there will be
the balance.
Exactly, the balance will always be kept, and the good even overcomes with a bit of a bigger weight, because otherwise there would be no evolution. If we were only
that's
going
what she's saying. Sorry, yes. Continue, and then I'll tell you that she's saying the same things.
That was what I wanted to insert about the shamanic belief.
Yes, same is her belief. So she's saying, don't be scared. Harmony will be restored after the disasters. But I tell you, you must be ready for them, bear them. And again, I say, fear not. The human race will not be obliterated by the face of the earth. I see destruction, unrecognizable changes, renewed mankind will be, will be existing, so to say. It's to make then she's saying cataclysms are said. Don't ask when, she's saying. We're not supposed to know exactly when. No one can tell you when. We see astrologically what is happening. We can say a lot about Saturn, Pluto, Mars conjunctions. All will be true, but we, for one or another reason, exactly when, we don't know, indeed. But very often
the prophecies are they do not coincide with the times given by the prophets. Very often, even with the best of prophets, most often than not, they don't coincide. And that's because with the power of thoughts, we can shift what is prophesied. For example, one of the I believe it was the third prophecy of Fatima that was hidden. And Fatima, I don't know much about her, but I know that she was a Portuguese prophet that was very famous and very coveted. And her third prophecy was that, was about to be revealed by the Pope. It was held secret by the Vatican until 1981. And it was supposed to be revealed. And on that day, there was a coup against the Pope at the time. I can't remember who it was. I think it was the previous Pope before this one, because he was there for a long time. And so there are some suggestions that the third prophecy was about the man in white. It was about Ben Saduno. It was about the new movement towards spirituality that doesn't bind people to any dogmatic beliefs, to anything. Basically, the belief of Ben Saduno is that the spirit, the home of God is in God. It's not in a church. It's not, you know. It's similar to New Age belief, and that's why many people mistaken it to be yet another New Age movement, but it's actually not. It's much deeper than that.
Yes, oh yes, oh yes. He gave us the new prayers, because the rosary, the way, you know, the Jesus prayer is of course came with Jesus, of course. And then Ben Saduno gave us the good prayer, the prayer which is supposed to be more applicable for the times of the Aquarius era. He gave the formulas, he gave the so that we can survive, if you want, in this era, and in the times of Mars and all these mini years that we're passing through before we enter the era of Aquarius, which will be very spiritual era after 360 years, because the sign of Aquarius, you know, of course, will be having the nature of Uranus. We will not go into detail, but also will be very spiritual, because don't forget that we're having Fomalhaut in the 10 degrees, which is the star of the spiritual guru. So yes, this is about Master Ben Saduno. And the Master Ben Saduno said, it was in the early 90s, he said about, in here, this is the only prophecy where he was very specific. He also wouldn't give dates, but he gave one time. In 1944, he said, now I'm just taking my shoes and I'm leaving this world. And then his body, of course, was not found. But what he said was that we are going to have a period of, he said, like a vacation. And he said this period will continue from 1919 until 2000. After that, he said, you're going to go through 40 years of enormous difficulties. That's what he said. So count from the year of 2000 to the year 2040, we're going to go through difficulties. And this can be followed astrologically. This I'm telling you, this can be seen astrologically. It is indeed so, yeah.
Let me tell you one story related to the story you're telling us now. The prophecy of Fatima actually said that there would be that Master Ben Saduno would be killed. But he said himself, I will not allow this, I will not allow the Bulgarian population or whoever kills him to incur such a karma on themselves. So I will not allow them to kill me. I will not, yeah. And so in 1941, the Nazis came and they were about to kill him. And so he sent away all of his followers, his students, and it was a bit before Christmas, as far as I remember. And he said, come back in 4 days. And when they came back, he had left his body.
Yes, yes. Yes, amazing. Yes, there is a lot. All his works are translated in English, in French, in German, for those of you who are interested. Just to complete the last words in relation to this, to the words of Slava Sivryukova, very complex name. If you're interested, we will write it down with Zori under this video. So she's saying, don't be afraid. Cards are thrown. Mankind will seemingly lose the game, but they will suddenly turn. And good times will come with hope for the survivors, because those people will be much higher, spiritually higher. Only then will they live by God's law. Remember, there is no complete destruction. Temporary loss is part of the game, of the battle. You will know the coming of these times. There will be, and then I'm not going to say it because we may have, she's saying, after this, good times will come again and people will be spiritual and people will turn their faces to God. This is what Slava Sivrukova, and a very interesting thing to tell you, Slava Sivrukova, of course, was a prophet. She was not just a medium, she was a prophet, and she would say that Hitler was incarnation of Neron, the Emperor Neron. And she said that because Hitler killed so many people on earth, but he was spiritual in a way, occultistic, so to say. She said he would incarnate after a very long period of time because he was spiritual, so he wouldn't suffer to incarnate immediately. But she said he would incarnate as a body, as a small boy, as a boy without parents, and he would be a beggar on the streets, and he would be very, very sad. And about Stalin, she said something different. She said Stalin was only materialistic, and she was a true dictator. And he also caused the death of many people. That is why, because he was not occultistic, because he was not spiritual, he would be incarnating over and over again, and the intervals between the incarnations will be very short. And she said one of the first incarnation that he had after he was Stalin was that he was a docker, and he would have no friends, and he would be very, very poor, and he would still have the memory of his dictatorship. That's why he would be torturing the people around himself. That's what she said about Stalin, just if you find this interesting.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any proofs of what she has prophesied so far that came true?
She said literally, she predicted the events 9/11 in America, literally with the description of the buildings, with just literally. But she said that this was planned in the spiritual world event, and that somehow I even have translation of this. 1 second. Yes, she predicted these events, and many others, by the way. Let me find this particular.
Because Baba Vanga, I know that had a few mispredictions that didn't come true. Because as a matter of fact, we can change the trajectory of time to a certain extent. We cannot change God's will, but we can make it milder for ourselves or for certain regions. Many times it has happened that bad fate has been pushed further in time.
Yes, they do. Certainly, they also advise. The Slava Sivrukova was saying you need to pray. You need to pray for this because of the times that she said they're written on a card. They will happen, but she said pray so that you experience them in a softer way, so that you don't suffer that much. Pray, she says. So really, we need to pray. We need to pray with faith, with especially now when we have time being at home. It's really advisable to pray a lot.
This is what I've been talking with friends of mine and with you actually, and we discussed how good this staying at home is for the spirit of people, so that they can finally see their families or tend to their interests or develop themselves or start thinking a little bit, because in this robotic world that we live, where every movement of ours is automated, we don't have time to look at ourselves in the mirror, let alone pray.
Yeah, of course. She would say about how the higher light, she's saying, allowed America to emerge as country. America was given a significant role in the creation of the sixth race. But unfortunately, it will also, evil and war will originate from America, she said. The end of the 20th century, she said, will be marked by monstrous satanic manifestation. Then a huge dark spirit will emerge in human form. The eyes of the world will be surprised to stare at him. But then finally, of course, she said, this is like the final step before the world changes into something more spiritual.
But we don't know, did she say anything about the timeline of this event?
21st century. 21st century,
Okay.
end of the 21st century. And this can only fit into the mini era of Aries, because Aries can be very beautiful. Aries can have very beautiful manifestations of, of this healthy ambition, not the over ambition, but in athletic nature, in a beautiful spirit of aiming at our goals. For example, Mars is a very beautiful planet with its fine manifestations, but Mars also has dark phase, and we can see both, and exactly depends on us how what kind of phase of Mars will be seen, what phase Mars will manifest in front of us, because we can turn, indeed, like the Master Bein Saturn was saying, if a prophecy or prediction was made to someone and the prediction was very devastating and sad, but it doesn't come true, it is because the person would pray a lot and God will change his mind. So I believe we can see also the good face of Mars, but we need to work a lot on ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
now that you said
yes,
that, I would like to invite everyone for, I'm offering a free session on the Silva Method on Saturday, and it's a mastermind, which means that the powers of our subconscious minds, when we work together, are amplified. I'll explain how to go into alpha state and how to work with the Silva Method, but you can use it afterwards with whoever you want and teach other people to work together. But the thing is, if a lot of people gather together with the same intention, with pure hearts, they can change the path of destiny. Not only their own, the path of destiny of the whole world even.
Yes. When is this event, Zori? I will participate.
It's Saturday, this coming Saturday, in a few days from now. You can, everyone can sign up if they want to on healandlearn.com in home study. That's where you will find Silva Method Mastermind.
We will place link then under this video, and because the time zones will be different, so it's good that you, that the link, by the link, people can see the time zone. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. In the same, referring to this, how destinies, I want to share with you about another prophet, Stoina, reverend Stoina, and she said she was blind like Baba Vanga, and she was really amazing, and she's also Bulgarian, but on the Balkans we have amazing prophets. We had. I am not familiar of anyone of a contemporary prophet now. So she said, I never forethought that, even when I saw it, because today I believe that although very rarely, God can pardon the soul and bring it back to earthly life. And then she's saying, nothing is evil in the eyes of heaven. Everything is just science, and science is no fun. The science, science cannot be fun. Yeah, she was amazing. God does not prevent people from sinning, because for him the human will is sacred and untouchable. For me to know that, for three things you never, and this is something that doesn't really, and then she's saying, you ask me about the saints, and they are people like us, only their thought is such that it causes them to shine, and their light shines from the inside out. That's the difference. The saint is not born, he became a saint. When God created the earth and the sky, the Lord did not foresee the saints, only the angels. And in time, we will all become saints, but not simultaneously, she said. Mm-hmm. So I believe in 100,000 incarnations we may.
But I don't even understand. I mean, a saint is a definition given by the church. What is a saint otherwise? Somebody who's reached spiritual enlightenment, or how would you translate a saint to somebody from a different religion?
The Master being Sadhguru is giving the
hierarchy.
The hierarchy, yeah, very, very clearly with the names, because you have angels, you have the saints, you have the clear hierarchy. I don't remember. You have the archangel. He's really giving the hierarchy. And
Rudolf Steiner also does that. Maybe he took it from him.
Yes, he does. Yes. Yes, so
and you said, I'll just insert something about Master Ben Sadhguru. You said today or yesterday that he himself said that he comes from hierarchy above the saints, above the angels, above the, I don't know if the cherubims, I think, were afterwards, and then he's at the bottom of the masters, I would translate, the elders.
The elders, yes. He's saying, I'm the smallest, among the smallest of the elders. And then he comes from Sirius. And like Jesus also comes from Sirius. And he says, there are 3 events that you need to see in your life, which will really connect you with the love of God, with the wisdom and with the truth. First is to see the rise, the first rays of the sun, the rise of the sun. Then you need to see the rise of Venus, the heliacal rise of Venus. And then you need to see the heliacal rise of Sirius. And Sirius is rising heliacally between 17th and 19th of August. And this is connecting us with the truth. So these are the 3 basic, most important principles. The truth, I'm translating in my head from Bulgarian. The love, truth, and
wisdom.
Wisdom. So these are the 3 which you obtain after you see the first heliacal rise of the sun every morning, the heliacal rise of Venus, and then the rise of Sirius. And we need to. Sirius is shining in this in many colors, in amazing blue, green light. You can see Sirius around between 4 and 5 in the morning, between 17th until 19th of August.
Because I know about Sirius, that it's somehow aligned to the sun. I believe that the Earth and the sun is between Sirius and the Earth. But I'm not 100% sure, on the 13th of June, around this time, or 11th of June. So people born around this time tend to have very psychic abilities or very good connection to the divine.
Yes, yes, yes. If you have in your horoscope even conjunction moon with Sirius, midheaven, it matters, and it is maybe showing your origin. We don't know that. So yes, these are the words of the Master being Sadhguru. I had some other things. Zori, would you like
I have something about Baba Vanga that it's a small thing. Well, it has to do actually with the current developments that I saw on the stock market. I know I'm going on tangents now talking about the stock market, but I can't even show you because it's printed in a small font. But I saw today that McDonald's shares on the Dow Jones jumped 12%.
Imagine.
Yes. And then I looked at the other companies that are, jumping, and it's all food companies, pharma companies, and companies that support remote working. But anyhow, I don't know if it will recover after the drops that it had, all the stock exchanges after the drops that they had last week. But what I wanted to say is something about food, because Baba Vanga said, there will be time when there will be no food and you would walk for miles and miles before you see anyone. Onions and garlic will vanish, caused by something coming from above. This is what she said. Caused by something coming from above. I mean, this could be anything. We don't know what this is. It could be some sort of radiation, it could be toxicity, it could be lots of things. And then she
By
said,
the way, they are ruled by Mars. They're ruled by Mars. So
uh-huh.
this may happen. I don't believe this is happening during the Martian mini era, because then we must be during the Martian mini era.
We need them.
We should have lots of them.
Yeah, but she also said walnuts will disappear as they connect to the brain. People will stop using their brains. That's scary.
Well, that's the scariest.
That's the scariest. Yeah.
Yes.
And allegedly, but you know, nobody can say for sure these days because it's full of people making up what Baba Vanga said, things that Baba Vanga said. But she also said that money will be just numbers in computers. So we are definitely going towards crypto. That is clear to everyone anyhow. We will get there eventually.
In the same line, Suava Sivrikova said similar thing. I just didn't continue with this. She said that there will be times when people will walk on the streets that they will not be able to meet other people. This looks like the times now very much. She was mainly talking about the end of 21st century, and then she was even saying that the technology that we'll be using will be something that it's beyond comprehension, which I don't like so much because technology is not making people happy for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does technology align well with the dodecatemoria of Mars?
Oh yes, it does. It does, because if Uranus now is responsible for technology, Uranus is where? In Aries, in sidereal Aries, and Uranus entered sidereal Aries in April 2017 and will stay there for 7 years. Uranus is in Aries, you can see, and it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. Uranus is the co-ruler of Aquarius, but we are not living yet in the era of Aquarius. This is important to say because people keep saying era of Aquarius. Now we live in the last 360 or 355 roughly years of the era of Pisces.
And what is
you can imagine
what is the effect of or the great developments of technology? What sign and transit are they due to?
Of course, it will be Aquarius. Of course, Uranus. We need to follow if you want to see the technological development. It certainly will be Mars also. Rahu, say the Indians would say, and of course Uranus. It wouldn't be Saturn. Saturn is exactly the opposite. Saturn wouldn't show any development. He would show limitations and slow down. But now Uranus is very powerful in the sign of Aries, indeed.
We've had huge technological advancements in the 80s, especially in the 90s, you know, after the internet. So something must have happened around the 90s that triggered.
I never checked. There is for sure, absolutely for sure, but I never checked because I'm still not interested in technology. But this is a conversation that would be maybe interesting indeed to follow the path of the technological advancement of humanity. Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
No, because Western astrologers explain why we are already in the age of Aquarius, and I was wondering what the explanation of traditional or of ancient astrology is about the developments that we're already seeing.
The eras are something so significant that you cannot. The only way to look at eras is to look astronomically. You can't use different zodiacs. It just needs to be astronomical, and we cannot be yet still. We are still in the era of Pisces, and you can follow this up very easily. Look. Before 2016, we were still in the dodecatemory of Taurus, and you can see how different life was. Or even take 2015, because this is such large period, very significant, of 2000 200 years approximately, because when you divide it to 25,000 by 12, you end up with something like that, that you cannot be exact. You cannot be exact. You just need to search for a very significant world event, and then you say we entered this dodecatemoria. But you can see, just compare the Martian dodecatemoria with the Taurus, the Venus dodecatemoria. The life was different. Was just people were more human. People were more Venus-like. The real art was appreciated, and the art opera was more appreciated. Now I will not discuss what's happening with the music and the contemporary art, because it's terrifying. And we get into a worse direction, and this is the Martian dodecatemoria. No place for art. Everything should be chaotic. Everything should be Venus. When Venus was ruling for 180 years, dodecatemoria, I can make. We can talk in a separate video about the great opera masters, Verdi, Puccini, when this happened. And you will see that this happened in timing, which were not ruled by Mars, for sure. So if you follow different zodiac than the astronomical, I am not here saying, forget the word sidereal. Look what is happening on the sky. The ancient Babylonian astronomers would look at the sky, and they would have their diaries, and that's it. And they were the tropical zodiac was used for prediction of eclipses, and it was different. Another topic, a very long topic. It had nothing to do with this misunderstanding now. Apologies for those that will not like it. But this misunderstanding now, which is called tropical zodiac, had wrong start. But it's another story again. So if we want to follow really the development of significant contemporary events, world events, we need to look at the sky. It's so simple. Just look and you see what's happening now. When I remember, Zori, when in 2018, I remember Mars came so near Earth, so near that he was like
I remember
red dot.
well. Yeah.
Yes, I remember people who told me they were bitten by Scorpio. I remember myself having one deadly car accident. Then I was bitten by an animal, and I was fell in consciousness because of this. When Mars is so, and this is, you cannot explain this if you not look astronomically at the stellar events. So we do.
I'm having two different thoughts now, but I don't know whether to share them. One, I will share one. One is about the possible food shortages. And it's actually a practical advice for you. It's not really about the prophecies, although there are some prophecies, but since we cannot nail them to a timeline, I can't tell you that's a prophecy, but I can tell you what we're seeing is that people that are doing deliveries to the huge supermarkets in Europe, a lot of them actually come from Eastern Europe. So they've gone back home. And currently there are not enough truck drivers in Western Europe to drive food to the food stores. So it is likely that at some point we get some shortages, just, you know, for you to keep in mind, not to scare you, of course, just to keep in mind that at some point, people that are doing manual work or work that is being done by non-locals may be left unfinished because people are going home.
Yes, this was part of the prophecies of Slava Sivrukova. Yes, she said, she mentioned shortage of food. Yeah. And I think she was not the only one. We had others as well. Vanga was saying this, Slava Sivrukova was saying this, but this will be another good thing because people will maybe turn to their own gardening, like Rudolf Steiner was also, one of his prophecies, Rudolf Steiner, he was saying, he was teaching people on the biodynamic agriculture because she was saying that our food will be poisoned. Isn't it poisoned? And he was saying that he was teaching people how to grow their gardens. And this is the good part of the good side effect of the events now, that maybe we will be gardening more and growing our own food.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this, probably you know more about it, but about this gardening is that back in the day, I remember when my grandma had a garden, she would always plant flowers next to whatever she was sowing, the cucumbers or tomatoes. And there will always be flowers because certain flowers keep away pests.
Oh yeah.
And that's why in the whatever this method is called, biodynamic method, he tells you exactly which flowers fit to each crop, so that you don't need to use pesticides.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Let's if anybody has questions, I suggest you join or comment and ask questions.
I can't see from here, I don't know why.
I can read some comments. Amazon is hiring because people are ordering online, but people are still affected, low. So yeah, I mean, Amazon, you know, it's all about consolidation. Amazon will probably still be doing fine. As far as I know, Amazon stocks are going up, so there will be a lot of delivery, but delivery people will not be so widely available as now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Valerie Peterman says Western astrology is off by a whole sign, almost according to Edgar Cayce, prophet of our time, has an institute dedicated to him in West Virginia, USA for further research. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Lol. I know. Yeah. She says lol is laugh out loud. Yeah. Marigolds keeps bugs away from the house. There are no other questions or comments.
Yes, Western astrology. I had something in mind. Unfortunately, I forgot it. But yes,
I can read you. Go ahead.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, but don't forget your thought.
No.
It was about Nostradamus. He also said same things which where Dolores Cannon, you know, during regressions was contacting Nostradamus, and her books people can find and available, I think, online. But he was also saying that the globe will be completely reshaped, that the oceans will take the part of the land, and similar things which but this will be happening much really not in the near future.
Yeah, rising of the oceans is prophesied by many of the ones that I read today.
Yes.
But not immediately. I think it was usually the ones that I read prophesied it in the 30s, rather towards the end of the 20s of this century.
Yes. Okay.
So I have translated here some of the I don't know what to call them. Their thoughts, guides, aphorisms by Eleazar Harash, who is one of the students and followers of Master Ben Saduno. And he published them today, and I translated them just because I thought we need something positive here.
Please.
They're spiritual guidance. So he says, the temple is in God. It is not a place and is not in the world. God made me into a road to himself. The temple is mystical. It is the clear divine breath in us. The temple is love, God's earth. Only God rules the events because he precedes them. The events happen entirely in God and not in the world. Shall I continue or?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and after that we put them under this video because they're lovely. I heard them as well today. They're lovely.
Yeah. The pure clarity is the destroyer of the world because the clear sight sees God and not the world. The seeing one has seen the absolute one. The seeing person has seen the absolute one. Without loving God, we cannot receive ourselves. Love is the hearing of the Wiseman. It catches God. It catches unheard of secrets. Catches, it means of hearing. It hears. God adheres unheard of secrets, because love is the deep place in man, the God's place, the place of hidden power. There is faith worse than death. It is separation from God. So you shouldn't fear death. You should fear being separated. Create yourself in God and the world will fix itself, because you will have God's sight or gaze.
Yes, he's amazing. He's amazing. Well, I think we can finish here, Zori. Until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Krasi. I hope we managed to infuse some positivity alongside with the prophecies. When will all this finish? Somebody's asking.
Well, we're having 180 years dodecatemory of Mars, which doesn't mean that we're going to suffer 180 years, but we need to follow the path of Mars, and the path of Mars is very, it's changing, and I believe we will have some challenges now, still some challenges until, if you give me a second, I'm looking at the chart, and then I will be.
And while you're looking, there's another question that might be related, I'm not sure. Valerie Peterman asks, Jupiter on the 29, I suppose this is degree, bring a little help? Does it bring a little help?
Yeah, Jupiter is bringing help. The thing is that when Jupiter and Mars and Pluto are together, they're forming a very, very powerful, and I've been saying this in all my last videos, this is forming a very powerful, it's like power, exactly power conjunction. It's about execution of power. And as you can see, this is what is going on now. We're experiencing literally execution of someone else's power on us. So this is what is happening. And because this conjunction is meaning this, exactly this. But okay, let's see what is happening now I'm looking, today is the 19th. What is happening is today we're having Mars, Jupiter, Pluto together. Powerful, powerful, and that is why we still see no exit from the situation. And day by day I'm looking now, and I will be telling you approximately. Then end of March, Mars is joining Saturn. Still no good news, unfortunately. We need to be a bit patient. As you heard from Slava Sivrukova, it's been orchestrated from heaven. A bit difficult is the first week of April. I would say quite difficult because Saturn and Mars are together in conjunction. And this is not very sweet, so to say. We need to be patient and we need to be very spiritual. And then let's continue. I believe the path of Mars in Capricorn makes him very, very strong because he's exalted there in Capricorn. And in the first degrees in particular, he's meeting a star, which is saying it is about, now take it symbolically, it's not scary. The star is about separation the soul from the body. It's the meaning, which is saying that we really need to find the connection with our higher selves, with the creator, it sounds scary, but it isn't. It is about enhancing our spirituality. Now is the time. The more we uplift our vibrations, the better we will survive this time now. So, and this is, then we're having on the 6th of April, Jupiter enters Capricorn, and he's forming Jupiter-Saturn-Mars conjunction. Again, it's quite complex conjunction. Still not giving solution, I believe. My hopes are with the sun on April. Let me tell you. I'm following. On April 14, the sun is entering his exaltation place. Symbolically, the sun should be helping in this. Symbolically, the thing will start to dilute a little bit. We will be having some like relief, but not completely. really not completely. I believe better will be once Mars, because we remember we need to follow the path of Mars. Mars need to enter Aquarius, where the a relief will come, and this is happening. I'm going to tell you exactly when. I'm counting dates, excuse me. This is happening 5th of May, 5th, 6th of May. Will be a bit of relief because Mars is in Aquarius, Venus is aspecting, but all other planets are then in May also are becoming a retrograde, which will slow things down for a while. We may need to be patient, but at least a better timing, a bit better, softer timings are coming in May. Yes.
Let me see if there are any other comments. Thank you, Krasi. Somebody's asking, it is or stating something. It is magnifying the bad aspect between Mars and Pluto.
Yeah, but too strong together. Too strong, yeah.
Pray. Thank you both. Much love. I would like to also add on a positive note, because it's about our growth and about our awakening, our realization that we're connected. We need to connect. We're disconnected, and this is what is creating the fear. Because when I'll tell you what, the past few days I was watching some disturbing videos regarding topics of the current times, and I felt very down, very, very down. And I usually don't allow myself to indulge in watching negative things, but this time I did. And so one of the clients on Heal and Learn, Kathleen, and a shout out to Kathleen if she's watching, she said, it depends whether you're seeing yourself as a body or as a spirit, because if you're seeing yourself as a spirit, there is no fear.
Such a wonderful
yes
note. Wonderful. Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So yeah, this is a very good point, Kathleen. Yes. Very well. Let's finish here, Zori. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you.
Join us for the Silva Mastermind if you want on Saturday. I will put the link below. Yeah.
Yes, Saturday on the site Heal and Learn, and I'll be joining. Thank you, Zori. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.